Back in the early days of D&D and in games like Labyrinth Lord, there were no acrobatics checks, no stealth rolls, no bloated skill lists. You had saving throws. 5 little categories that somehow covered damn near everything. You'd roll 1 die to dodge a fireball, shrug off a death ray, keep from being turned to stone, save versus poison, or die. Yeah, it's simple, fast, and tense as hell. And you know what's funny? Nearly a half century later, new games like DragonSlayer are bringing those same 5 saving throw categories back. Because sometimes the old ways just work. So in Labyrinth Lord, just like the 1981 basic rules it cloned, you had the following iconic chart: Death Ray / Poison, Wands, Paralysis / Petrify, Breath Weapon, Spells. 5 categories. That's it. Each class had its own strength. Fighters were built to survive Dragon's Breath. Clerics resisted spells better than others. Thieves got lucky saves against traps and wands. It wasn't about simulation, it was about storytelling and speed. When the dice hit the table, everyone at the table knew what was at stake: life, death, petrification. The table was the beating heart of tension. It made every moment matter. You weren't rolling skills, you were testing fate. And then came the realism era. And it didn't start with 3E, it didn't start with 2E. It started with the Dungeoneer Survival Guide, it started with the Wilderness Survival Guide, it started with Oriental Adventures. It was non-weapon proficiencies. Designers wanted to simulate everything. You had skills for swimming, jumping, balancing, tying knots, fishing, riding. God forbid, if you didn't have the riding skill, you probably couldn't fight in combat from the back of a horse. Every action needed a rule. Every rule had a modifier. The game slowed down and the magic faded a bit. Players started asking, can I roll acrobatics or tumbling to dodge this fireball? When the old system already had the answer. Well, you save first spells. I'm not saying some people didn't argue. Can I save first breath weapon? I may have argued that once or twice myself. But if there was a change in the rulings, it was a change for that table. Skill systems multiplied options, but they also multiplied confusion. Saving throws kept it simple. 1 clean roll. 5 columns. Endless drama. And sometimes less truly is more. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Labyrinth Lord preserved those 5 classic saves exactly. The above categories that I mentioned before, same feel, same tension even. And decades later, here comes DragonSlayer. And it's doing the same thing. It's not just inspired by old school saving throws, it literally keeps the categories alive. 5 categories named slightly differently: breath, death, stone, wand, and spells. That's deliberate design. It's essentially saying, yeah, we've learned a few things in 40 years, but this part, we're keeping it. It works. We're not going to make it 3. We're not going to make it 6. Hey, Swords and Wizardry uses 1. Right? 1 saving throw. Straight down the line. DragonSlayer keeps with the original 5 categories. DragonSlayer modernizes a lot. Layout, clarity, optional rules, but under the hood, it's pure BX DNA. It's the proof that simplicity still sells when it works. If you played Labyrinth Lord, I don't know, back in the day is what, 15 years ago? Picking up DragonSlayer will feel like coming home. Admittedly, with better lighting, cleaner tables, floors are vacuumed. You don't have that chair jutting out in the middle of the room that you're going to trip over. Just does it better. So saving throws aren't just a mechanic. They're a philosophy. They trust the DM to make rulings, not arguments. They let the game breathe instead of getting buried under layers of subsystems. And that's why, after all these years, new games keep coming back to them. Because when you strip away the noise, that single roll, that moment when everyone's holding their breath, that's the soul of the game. We even have, what? We had the Save or Die podcast, the Save for Half podcast is going on right now. It's inspired podcasts, saving throws. That blows my mind, but it is so iconic to the concept that started with the original D&D. I think BX did a great job in refining it. So the next time someone tells you that, old mechanics are outdated, this O.S.R crap is just that. It's crap, right? Hand them a D20 and say, save or die. I'm sure they will give you a look from hell. But that is the magic of the saving throw. Right? Because at that moment, that pause before the die hits, it's timeless. So tomorrow, we'll take a look at how DragonSlayer, the RPG, not the movie, takes that same spirit and brings it roaring into a new era. But first, tell me in the comments, what's your most memorable saving throw you ever rolled? Was it a success? Was it a failure? Is it one that you still brag about years later, or are you still mourning the loss of that character? Tell us about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, keep your dice ready, because you never know when fate will call for a save. Good night. God bless.